Drum roll, please. Long awaited salmon tutorial. Been waiting so long to actually do this. Nobody's in the house, except my grandma. She's upstairs. But here we go. Filming's gonna be janky. Don't have a camera. It's okay. Step one, get your salmon. I get this salmon man. Get her at Sam's Club, but any frozen fillet portions work fine. If you want to go Trader Joe's, probably work just as good. Sometimes you have to experiment a bit. I think my mom went somewhere and got a different brand, and they were so thin, hard to cook. If you get the same thickness of your fillet, the same method should work every time, but sometimes you gotta play around with it. Okay, step one is gonna be defrost your salmon man, if not already defrosted. A couple of different ways that you could go about this, depending on how much time you have. When I want salmon today, my favorite method is to take a pot of water, put it on a stove, put the stove on low. Don't want to like actually start cooking it. And it should take maybe like 20 minutes. So I would put it in before the water even gets hot and just keep checking it. Like check it maybe 10 minutes and then 15 minutes and then 20 minutes. So that's 10 minutes and then 5 minutes after that. Just to clarify. And it should be defrosted nice and evenly. If you're really in a time crunch, you can microwave, but it still gets frozen in the center. I don't like doing that. The other method that you could use, if you have a lot of time, is just stick it in the fridge. After about a day, it should be nice and evenly defrosted and no risk there of actually starting to cook it. I have done that before with the stove method, so just be wary with that one. Little demonstration. We got Sammy in here, still in plastic. Don't want to get it all goopy with the water. Water, I just put it in, water's cold, and set it to low. Just enough water that it could be submerged, just so it gets nice and evenly defrosted. Should be good. Gonna check back a little later till it softens up. And best part about this is you can just kind of like fuck off and do whatever you want in that meantime, unless you want to prep other stuff. All right, fortunately, I got a little bit overexcited because I wanted to just put it on the stove and then just like go off and hang out. But I realized as I was filming that I had to prep other stuff. So the fun part about stir fry is that you kind of just use whatever you have. But since your fridge might not be so stocked because you don't do much cooking, bare bones, what you might want, onion, always good. Eggs, I did not get the eggs out yet. Still debating if I want to put that in there. Broccoli, also good. Really, those two, kind of like all you need for a good stir fry. Zucchini is also good, but we don't have that. But do have a carrot, so I'll probably be using that. Lemon is good for cooking the salmon. And I happen to have some green onions, which make me very happy because we never have those in this house. The only reason I got it was because Hazel and I were cooking something last week. So glad that's still around. But just chop those up however you like them. Or whatever you have. Just chop them up bite-sized pieces. I know you already know this part, but want to take care of your knives. But figured you might enjoy some knife sharpening ASMR. Actually do this properly. Always be safe with knives, but nobody said that you can't have fun, you know? It worked, but it went everywhere. But I still got it. I actually perfectly capped that. I gave it like a little scalp removal, so totally meant to do that. My eyes. I'm dying. No, but actually, oh my god, why do they still hurt? I fucking hate onions. I was doing so good for so many years. When I started cooking, I was so good at cutting onions, I never had any issues. Apparently, it was just because I was wearing contacts the whole time. I hate this so much. Shit was coming from my life. But once you've safely got your murder orb diced up and bold, safely away from your eyes, hopefully, um, you can figure out your proportions. So I just cut up basically like a medium, pretty medium sized onion, kind of like medium to small. But if you're just making one salmon portion, being like one pretty like large fillet here, kind of getting soft. Um, I would say like half of an onion, maybe. Good thing about onions, you can cut up the whole thing. If you're planning on making multiple portions, just well, like at different times, just bag it up, Ziploc right in the fridge, lasts a while. Um, but yeah, and then do the other stuff. Okay. Other thing, real quick, that the whole knife shot was super scuffed, and I'm a lot better with the knife normally, but this cutting board is nerfing me. Just putting that up. So the other thing is to test out your ingredients first, because I was totally gonna boil this carrot, but I tried it. Well, because I don't like really raw carrots, but I tried it and it's like pretty soft. So doesn't need to be boiled. Probably just gonna pan sear it with the onions, and I think that'll be fine. So make sure you test your shit before you make it too soft and overcook it, you know? Don't do that with broccoli. Should taste nasty raw. Okay, so now that our two veggie components are getting cut up, I am also thinking about putting spinach in there. Never had a stir fry with spinach. I feel like it could maybe slap, maybe just a little bit. Um, but we're gonna start going on just a general salmon deal. Sometimes if I'm, because I have a couple different recipes when it comes to making salmon, but I'll give you a pretty basic template that once you make the salmon, then you can like add whatever sauce you want. Yeah, the two things that I do with salmon most typically is like a teriyaki deal. So you could do teriyaki salmon with a stir fry or with noodles. Noodles is where I'm going tonight because I don't have rice already made. Um, and then the other deal is you could just have it with some veggies. I like to make it with like sauteed zucchini, just in like olive oil, and then the salmon would be made in like a butter and like lemon sauce. So that comes out pretty good. But yeah, you could do this, and then whichever way you want to go, you just add it in after. All right, so checking back in, we got Sammy defrosted. Sometimes you'll get like a little bit of the white goop around. It's fine. Just if you see that, probably like pull it out of there. But now we can kind of get all the stuffs ready to get actually cooking. Another tip is if you're doing the noodles, I use these oodles. They slap. Those are the ones that you had. At this point, before you even get the salmon going, you can start to get your water boiling because sometimes that takes a while. Just efficiency, you know. Okay, so normally for like a teriyaki sushi man, I wouldn't even bother spicing it. But just for a basic salmon template, this is what I would do. We're gonna do pepper, salt, and of course the spice of life, garlic. And I would do that on both sides. We get the water coming to a boil sometime soon. So get a nice non-stick pan and just put a little splash of oil in there and try to coat this. Sometimes it's really annoying with those dry spots, but once you feel it getting nice and hot, if you want to test it, a little tip is just kind of like flick some water in there, not too much or it'll pop like a lot. But once it's popping a little bit, then it's probably a good temperature for you to grab your tongs. Normally I'd carry the plate over, but Lucy will just eat anything that drops. And then you want that. You want the nice sizzle. And jiggle it around just to make sure that it's not sticking, which it kind of is. But you don't want it to like stick solid because that's really annoying. But then you can kind of just leave it there for like 4 minutes or so. I'd check it, but just enough to get a nice crust. What I also like to do is cut up a bit of lemon. So you cut up 3 slices and then 1 half. Then you use the half to drizzle a bit just for flavoring. Try not to get it in the oil because then it starts popping like it just did right now. But you can, see, I didn't squeeze it all the way because I'm going to flip the salmon and then squeeze it on the other side. And then you can take your 3 slices and just kind of like, it's popping so much. And like, drop them in there and don't burn yourself. So my grandma just came downstairs and said I'm amazing for cooking. Water boil means nudes go in, tip tip, tip tip. Don't touch the pan, and they just fall in. So once some time has passed, you can kind of, no. See, you should do this with 2 hands, but alright. One-handed, I'm going to use the spat man and just flip her over, and that's exactly what you're looking for. A nice crispy crust. So then just flip it on to the other side and let that sit for a nice while. Okay, food and hydration check. Since I'm not eating this tonight, I'm having, this is snack, lemon cream choban. But make sure you're drinking water. Even if you are having this tonight, stay hydrated. It's important. You have really thick portions like this. Once you have both sides cooked, you just want to cook it on the sides. Otherwise, it'll look raw. I mean, basically anything that looks like pinkish, you should like sear it just to get a nice crust on all sides. Also, those lemon slices that you put in earlier are going to get nice and caramelized, so that's kind of like how you want them to look. So whenever you're done, I like to take the salmon off and put it on a plate with paper towel just to drain some of the oil. But salmon will also continue to cook after you've taken it off the pan, so just let it rest for a couple minutes, and it should be perfect once you just get a nice sear on all the corners. Your next step is going to be to cook the veggies, and I realized that I was a little bit short-sighted, so you can do this whole thing, minus the noodles, in one pot. So I would get like a wok, and you can like pretty easily take care of everything. I should have done that from the beginning. So once you got some oil in the pan, let it heat up a little bit, and then you can start with some aromatics. So I'm going with ginger and garlic. I usually just go garlic, but we had minced ginger, so I decided why the hell not. So the reason I didn't put this in with the salmon is because the salmon takes longer to cook than the veggies, and I didn't want to burn the ginger or the garlic. Might still end up happening, but you know what the hell. So I put like a little spoonful of both in there, because I might put more garlic in, but this is like empty. Ginger is very, very strong, so if you're going to use that, don't use a lot. But yeah, and just keep this flipping, let the onions get translucent, because I know you don't like raw onions. And we'll check back for the sauces. Remember this whole time, you want to be checking your nudes. You know, don't want them leaking. But mine were just done, and I tasted it. I used to, my family told me that the way to test noodles is to like fling them at the wall, and if they stick, they're ready. Emma did not believe me. But I got her doing that until I figured out I could just taste it, and that was so much more fun. But yeah, that had my knees so weak. But yeah, you want to drain them. I rinse them too a little bit. It stops them cooking, and then if it's like actual like pasta noodles, it helps get some more of the starch off. But when your veggies are looking nice and good, cooked, yummy, you can add your noodles in, and then we start adding the sauce. I also decided to drain some of the oil because it was looking a little oily, and my oil remove pads are in my car. That was a joke. But these are the sauces I'm going to use because I do not have my favorite God-given teriyaki sauce from Panda Express. I just used it like the last bit last week. So I'm going with your chuggable soy sauce. And I'm going to experiment with this man, General Tso's sauce and glaze, and then oyster sauce. And you probably would not survive this sauce, so I wouldn't recommend it, but I am going to try it. She's just a very spicy man, bean. But yeah, not too much soy sauce because soy sauce tends to be pretty liquidy. So just enough to kind of get everything coated and a little bit darker. Plus you don't want all that sodium in your system, but you know, maybe you do. So I got my sauces added and mixed. For the teriyaki man, I would recommend just using the Panda Express man. He's never done me wrong, and all you need to do is just drizzle, 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 and that's it. But yeah, kind of just experiment with the amounts, ratios if you're using different sauces, and the best thing you can do is just like stick a fork in it and taste it, you know? But yeah, right now, since that's all mixed, I'm gonna take my Salmy man and stick him in there, and you can use whatever tool works best for you, but spatula should work just fine enough. But we're gonna cut this man into some bite-sized pieces. And then just mix them up real good. You know, the biggest thing that I discovered about, you know, like cooking yourself is that if you're unsure about like what to do, like how to size things, just imagine how you want it, like on your plate, going in your mouth. Like whenever I'm making sesame chicken or something, I think both Emma and Sage will ask like, "Oh, how big should I cut this?" Like however big you want it in your mouth. That's about it. Um, so yeah, if you're ever in doubt, just imagine how you would prefer eating it. You know. And once you're done, it can go right in the Tupperware if you want to, you know, cook it, prepping for work, or right in your plate from there. But last thing I'm gonna do is just finish it off with some green onions, and I promise if this was on a plate, it would look better. Also, probably taken with a more professional camera. Uh, but yeah, I can guarantee 100% this is going to slap every time, as long as you have it fresh. I can't guarantee if you don't. I just have to taste test just to verify. You know, totally not, because this is making me really hungry. That is extremely pleasing. Yeah, so what I normally do when I make the teriyaki stuff is I'll actually cook it. Once the salmon's mostly cooked, then I'll add in the teriyaki glaze just to get it nice and covered. But that's only if you want like a heavier teriyaki flavor on the salmon. I think you could go either way. This really slaps. I didn't put the spinach in there because I didn't want it to be too busy. I didn't put eggs in there either because I forgot. So you could do that if you want. You know, the world is your oyster. You are the pro. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this Sammy tutorial. Long time coming. And let me know if you want any others. Hopefully this was helpful in some way.